Welcome to all of you storm watchers, storm chasers, and Leanierologists out there. We welcome you to Leanbrella's first ever Tempest Talks. And today's guest is Aaron Scullin, who is a exceptional individual in terms of business entrepreneurship, if you will. He's started multiple businesses over his career. He currently is the executive director of a counseling facility in my hometown. He also is running his own business, which he started about 2 years ago now, called Hitched for Fun.
Going into the third year.
Yeah, going into the third year. So we're excited to hear some of the feedback that Aaron has gone through in becoming a storm chaser, a certified storm chaser, and the different effects that Lean has had on his career, as well as some of the aspects of Lean that we at Leanbrella have brought into the certification program. So welcome, Aaron. We're excited to talk to you today.
Thank you very much.
So is there anything that I missed that you would like to share about yourself?
Well, you mentioned that I'm the executive director of an agency called RIM Family Services. And so we do a lot of mental health services, counseling, parent education for our community residents. So that is what I do on that side. And then I also, like you said, own Hitched for Fun, which is all about having fun when you're camping and giving people supplies like Dutch ovens and flagpoles for their RVs and so forth. So kind of I get a little bit of two different worlds.
Yeah. Well-rounded, I would say.
Yep.
Fantastic. We're excited to talk to you today about some of the things that are impacting not only industry as a whole, but also to hopefully enlighten those watching about how Lean can impact all aspects of our lives, not just our industrial lives, if you will. So it's not just a manufacturing philosophy, but it can also be used in all aspects of our lives.
Right.
It's great. We're excited to have you. So my first question that I would like to ask you about is obviously involving what has happened during COVID-19 and how it's impacted the workplace. And my question for you is, with all of these changes with COVID and having to work from home and so forth, I'm sure you've seen an impact on mental health. Is that true?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Not only amongst our community residents, but our own staff. You know, some have handled this major change, very well. Others have really struggled with it. Yeah. Some were in denial for a long time. Now we're almost going into a year of modified workplaces and sites. And it's been interesting to watch different individuals and personality types kind of roll with that. Some have rolled really well and others have struggled, and so we've had to help them. And so some of the training has helped us modify and help get the best out of everybody and work towards their strengths.
That's great. So what kinds of training are you referring to? Things like culture climate and maybe Lean storm chaser training?
Yeah. One of the things that's helped us adapt to the COVID environment is truly the culture climate training, where we learned about different colors that people have and their dominant color. And so in an isolated situation, I know from our training that being sent home to work remotely by yourself is going to be really difficult for my staff that are blue. That's their primary color, because they're more emotionally based and need that companionship and cohesiveness together. And so my blues struggled the most. And so we make sure we check on them more often. Some of those individuals, we schedule them to come in the office more, where they can get some of that personal interaction. Now, our greens, they're very, very happy working remotely. And so it's no problem. This is a dream come true. So, you know, just having some of the foundational training, knowing different personality types and how they function in their has helped me not be so concerned about some and
Yeah.
then offer supports for others. So that, that's just a little change, but I definitely had to utilize that training with my staff with COVID. So
That's fantastic feedback. I've noticed some of the greens that have gone through the class before have mentioned I was made for COVID. They really are enjoying the isolation, believe it or not. Whereas the blues are not so much.
yeah,
Um,
it's
yeah.
going to be hard to get the greens to come back to the office.
Yes. I would say that is a very true statement. In terms of culture climate, say that we weren't in a COVID situation, how would the different colors respond to one another, in conflict? So say that you have a gold boss. So for those of you that are not as familiar with the colors, golds are very structured and they like organization. They feel comfortable in structure and solid understanding of how things relate to one another. They prefer that kind of situation. And a blue, like Aaron had mentioned, a blue is very comfortable with human interaction. They like being with people. They like supporting people and so forth. And greens, as we were just teasing about, greens like to be logical and thinking about things in their own way and in their own pace. And an orange really likes excitement and thrill and fun. So my question goes along the lines of how have you seen these colors interact in a normal type situation where they're interacting on a team level, or they have to get a project done, or maybe even if there's conflict in the workplace? Have you seen how culture climate has really helped them?
Absolutely. Um, I went through the training first and fell in love with it. It's really impacted my life. I use it everywhere. Um, and I couldn't wait to get the rest of my staff trained. So
Yeah.
now all of my staff members are trained in this. And one of the things we did as a result of this, we um, encouraged staff to post their primary top 2 colors. And
Oh,
it kind of alerts other staff members real quickly how to approach that person.
great.
Okay, so if I'm going to one of my green coworkers, I know that that person is going to respond best if I give them the data, the facts, clear,
Yeah.
concise, without any real emotion attached to whatever that item is. That my interaction will be better with them and more productive.
Yeah.
Um, and so that kind of those tools and knowledge, it's been fun to watch my staff interact, because those that are blue, they're going to be your huggers. They want to give you a hug when you come into the office. Okay.
True.
My greens are like, I don't want a hug. Okay. But it's really fun because I watched just on simple interactions like that. The blue is dying. They want to have this hug, but they'll give each other air hugs.
I love it.
Acknowledging the needs of one another. And then, so it's been really good to watch that. So has it eliminated all problems? No. However, it has truly improved the interaction with individuals, because people that go through the training, there's no color bashing.
Yeah.
It's all about the positive aspects of the different personality types.
Definitely.
And so I don't know, it's been revolutionary in our staff, because they're approaching each other based on what they know the person's strengths are, because each color has strengths and weaknesses, and you can get along a whole lot better just by fundamental knowledge. Really helps that interaction process that I found. So
Yeah, most
it's been great.
definitely. Yeah, because most often in most of the companies that I've worked with, I've done Myers-Briggs, I've done DISC, I've done multiple different kinds of personality type quizzes, if you will. And I have not, since Rim Family introduced it to Leanbrella, I have not found a more effective um, personality or characteristic type analysis that actually works. People actually remember what their colors are and what the other colors mean. It's
Yeah.
pretty incredible.
Yeah. I can tell anybody that's watching this, I can promise you, if you go through the course, you will actually talk about colors for months and years later. It's
Yes.
going to be part of who you are and how you interact with people. You know, for my different jobs, I go through dozens and dozens of classes and trainings and on and
Yes.
get put to sleep in those like everybody else. However, this is probably the only training that I've had in all my career that I actually use on a daily basis. I use it at work, I use it in my personal life,
Yeah.
professional life, in the different social groups I'm in. It's valuable, and I can start utilizing those principles with my neighbors, learning their personality types, and I think everybody that takes the class hurries and goes home and tries to figure out the colors of their family.
They
Um,
do.
and it really helps even eliminate conflict within your own home. Um, that's been my case, and I think I speak for all of my staff that have been through that they would echo that. Um, I don't know. It's
Yeah,
very, very influential and simple. So
yeah, most definitely. That's one of the main reasons why we at Leanbrella wanted to include it into our Lean certification program. And Aaron just completed last year, year before last,
right.
Storm Chaser training. And at the conclusion of Storm Chaser training is when we discovered the concept of colors and how colors could be transformed into what we at Leanbrella call culture climate, and how it can be included in Lean, and how those Lean professionals that are actually working and functioning not only in industry, but can use it in their home and personal lives. So from a Lean perspective, as having gone through Storm Chaser training, have you seen how colors can impact decision making in, putting forth a change management program or changing a policy or a procedure, and how colors has impacted that?
Certainly, um, colors helps you identify the strengths of your staff, and when you are implementing new change and things that um, change old habits that we've been doing for years and years, there will be individuals colors that will adapt to that better, which would be better to implement that change. We'll take it on as a challenge, where others, that change can bring so much anxiety
Yeah.
that would translate to subsequent employees. And so
Mhm.
I might be more inclined to have an orange leader take on a big change, because they really enjoy change. That's where their mind goes woo, and they excel at that. Where someone else, they might be too timid to change. They'll be obedient and try, but they may not excel as easily.
Yeah.
So kind of you brought up the storm chaser training. I think the culture climate is great. In industry, we're trying to be as lean as possible, as efficient, as we can, eliminate waste. And part of that whole component is the human individual
Yes.
that's in that process. We can make the computer or the machine run 24/7, but then we have an individual that has real emotions and issues in their life. And we can make the overall process all the better just by learning about the human side of things.
Totally.
So I think it's a brilliant um, bringing together those two concepts, as you've done in your program.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to go for, especially with COVID happening and the impact of mental health, as you've mentioned before. Culture climate has really helped in understanding what team members should do certain things. So like you mentioned before, some of those changes that you've made because of COVID, bringing those individuals that like to be together with groups and with individuals, bringing them into the office more often than someone that's not. And have you seen, implementing these different change initiatives that you have? I know your situation is a little difficult because you're dealing with government and government officials and so forth, which is going to be different than most people in industry, because they can say, oh, I'm not going to do that program anymore because of XYZ. Whereas as a government agency, you're kind of doing the program because you have to do that program.
Right.
So where do you find the balance between implementing lean or removing waste in a situation where you may not be able to remove that waste? You're kind of stuck with it.
Yeah, it is a complicated thing having government grants dealing with.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are specific prescriptions, if you will, that we have to follow, and a lot of them don't make sense at all, but we have to do it a certain way. So I guess what we've done is learn that while we can't change those items, let's focus on the things that we can change and we can improve.
That's great.
If we just put our energies there, the overall process as a whole will improve. So whether that's sorting and straightening our office supplies, using the 5S principles, having visual controls in each of our drawers for post-it notes and pens and paper.
Yeah.
Those are things that I hurried home and started implementing, because that could eliminate the waste in an area that I could affect and could change.
Yeah.
The nonsense of a different program or whatever, maybe I'm stuck with that, but I
Yeah.
can do these other things. I can be more efficient in the layout of my office with my staff. Do they have the equipment in their work area that they need, or do they have to change flights of stairs to get to the copy machine, and those kind of things. I don't know, from the mental health component, that helped.
Yeah.
What I can, the rest, I'll just put it in a box and do the best I can, knowing I even though we say we can't change things, I think we deny it sometimes.
Yeah,
There's always
I would
something we
agree.
can change. I don't know. So the training helped me step back a little bit too,
Oh, that's good.
and learn, okay, what can I really change? What am I in denial on?
Yeah.
The training you put us through is very intense, very, very detailed. And really, I came home with a encyclopedia, if you will, of information that I could implement at different times. So
Yeah.
it's quite a resource. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
How about in terms of entrepreneurship? So starting your businesses and your new businesses, have there been any items you've taken from lean or from culture climate that has impacted that as well?
Yeah, you bet. One of the exercises you put us through is it's a simulation of a factory. I won't share the details of it, but it was really, really good. We learned the difference between a push process and a pull process on an assembly line, and that made me really start thinking of my shipping process with hitchedforfun.com. Getting orders in, assembling them, weighing them, sending them off, and I thought I'm going to implement some of the Kanban systems that we talked about in the class to help that shipping, receiving orders to shipping, the packaging, and then delivering.
Cool.
To utilize those principles to help me be most efficient. Because before I would be pulling my hair out, so to speak, trying to keep up with orders and trying to be as fast as I could. But I realized from that training, there's a different way to do this, and I could work smarter, not harder, kind of a deal. So that's helped tremendously.
That's great. That's fantastic.
One other thing you taught us was about visual controls. my primary color is gold. And so I like order and predictability. And one of the things that can be really challenging is maintaining an inventory and making sure you don't run out of any product. Because if you don't have apples
Sure.
on your cart, you can't sell the apples.
Right.
So you taught us about visual controls. And so now in my shipping room, I have bays or shelves with each of our products. And a quick glance in that room, I can, visually see if I
Nice.
need to order right away or not. If maybe I'm overstocked in something too. Oh,
Yeah.
I shouldn't order too much of that. And I can really see visually in a matter of seconds
That's
where
great.
I'm at. And that was genius. I didn't
That's
think of that
awesome.
before. So
That's
that's just
wonderful.
another thing I came home with from that training.
Oh, that's great. I'm so glad to hear that because simple things, some of our viewers may have seen them, things like Marie Kondo on Netflix or even the home edit. All of those things are simply 5S or a lean principle of organizing things, sorting through things and organizing them in a logical manner and creating some visual controls surrounding that. I'm glad it worked out. People often ask me about, is your closet organized? And I've got to tell them yes. It's
Yep.
organized by color and by length of, of shirts, even type. It's organized, but it's helpful. People are really surprised that those kinds of things, simple things like a visual control, can tell you when you have too much of one item or not enough of something as well. It works really well in a kitchen and in a kitchen industry as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
that's great.
from eliminating waste of buying too many cleaning supplies, for instance, we've gone
Yes.
through and organized our janitorial closet. So rather than having multiple cleaning kits and supplies in various parts of the building, we have one centralized spot. So
Oh, that's
now we don't have
great.
half full bottles of this and that all over. And then we're reordering stuff we don't need. And then it expires. And
Yeah.
little things. It takes effort in the beginning to organize
Yes,
these things,
definitely.
but the end result is great. Things are rotating appropriately and not being lost. And again, I implement visual controls on those things. And I don't know. You can tell I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it's great.
But the class also helps you get buy-in from others and how to sell these principles. Some colors you have to prove it to.
Yeah.
Others are really excited for the change and the opportunity. I don't know. You just get more awareness.
Yeah. What have you found in the marriage between lean and colors or culture climate? Because you understand people's personalities a little bit better, as you've implemented a 5S program, you immediately recognize the early adopters and the ones that are going to be kind of late adopters that you have to prove it to. Who would you say those colors are? Who do you think the early adopters are versus the got to prove it to me?
Well, the earlier adopters are going to be your oranges. They're always ready for change and something new, something fresh. Sometimes they'll go for even any change without it being even proven. So
it's true. Kind of got to rein them in a little bit.
But, for instance, when we redid our supply cabinet at the office in that room, I brought up the idea, and instantly the oranges they like that, and my golds are like, he's finally figuring it out. We want to do this. So those golds, here, you go for it, knock yourself out, and gave him some guidance, what I was looking for, and
they were on it.
I put the golds and the oranges together on that.
It's awesome.
The greens were afraid that we were going to throw something out.
Yeah.
So I distracted those doing other projects during that time.
Good.
And now the greens love it.
That's great.
So I don't know if that answered your question, but
yes, it totally did.
Worked out good.
Yeah, that totally did, especially as a lean facilitator. So as a storm chaser, you're in there, your very beginning stages of being a facilitator for change. And a lot of times you hit a brick wall, how am I going to get through to this individual who just does not want to move their desk 2 inches? Because I've had that situation before.
Sure.
Um, and if you know their color, you know how to approach them differently, because you can say to them, say that they are a green. You can say, well, the reason why we're doing this is because logically it's easier to get to the copy machine if we move your desk this far. So you kind of approach the communication with that individual based off of their color a little bit differently. That's great.
Yeah.
What other experiences have you had?
With change, in fact,
Yeah.
let's think here. Let's see. Uh, change, programs come and go, and I've learned to. This is my perception. Let's see what my staff says otherwise. But for my blues, it can be very hard leaving one program that they've put their heart and soul in.
Yeah.
So you have to be more sensitive to that and reassure them. Now, there's nothing negative about blue, so please don't anyone ever perceive that. I need to make sure that I present the change, the plan with emotion and those feelings attached, so that, hey, this new program is going to really make it a difference in our community.
Yeah.
I've chosen to go for this grant because it will provide X, Y, Z, and I have to sell it to them authentically.
Yeah.
But help them see the personal value in it and how they will relate to it and appreciate it just as much as I do, because that's where they'll feel most secure and safe.
Yeah.
Okay. Where another color just want to know the facts. Are we going to make a profit of this? Is this going to work? Do we have the resources to meet that? Well, yeah, green will answer those questions too. And that's how I would approach them.
Yeah.
So I've utilized it in some of those changes, because contracts come and they go.
Yeah.
And man, you invest everything you have in that, your heart and soul, in a program.
Yeah.
It ends, no fault of your own. Policies and things change. Well, I don't know. The colors has helped with those transitions, to keep the staff engaged in the whole process.
Yeah, most definitely. Thank you. I really have appreciated your time today. And I know time is precious, especially in these uncertain times with COVID. And I know that you're crazy busy with programs, not only at RIM Family, but also with Hitched for Fun. And Leanbrella really appreciates you taking the time out today to speak with us about how culture, climate, and lean can really impact a business. Do you have any final thoughts you want to share?
Well, first, thank you so much for inviting me to be here today. I'm a believer in these programs. Like I said, I've been through them myself. I came home and told the rest of my staff, hey, you got to learn about this stuff. It is very, very valuable. And thank you too, Michelle, for your expertise.
Thank you.
You've taught me a tremendous amount. So thank you too.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks so much for everything. And to all of you storm watchers, storm chasers, and aspiring Leanierologists out there, we appreciate you and all the efforts that you're going through in trying to make lean stick. We know that it's really, really hard to make lean stick. And one of the best ways to do it is by understanding the culture climate of your team first. If your culture is right, then everything else will follow, because the team will trust you and they will know how to make it work and how to make it stick. So Thank you for being our first ever interview on Tempest Talks. We look forward to seeing your journey continue as well, and we may visit you again in the future and see how things are going and what has changed. So
You bet. Thanks
thank you
again.
very much.
All right. Take care.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks.
Thanks.